So, hello everybody. I hope everything is correctly configured. It's the first time I go live in like 1 year. Like last year, I tried to go live for a few times and it didn't go well because I had a very old MacBook back then and it couldn't handle OBS and it couldn't handle live streaming. Also, my internet connection wasn't that great. So I end up having a lot of issues. So I decided to stop streaming until I upgrade my setup and figure things out and become more prepared for it. But now I have a new MacBook Pro. I bought it like a couple of months ago, and okay, so sounds and looks good. So first feedback. That's great because I'm pretty nervous about it. I've been doing YouTube videos for about 2 months now at the Laravel YouTube channel and my channel as well. But like going live is different because there is no editing. You just say whatever you say and people will hear it, and you do whatever you do and people will see it, and there is no going back. If you say something stupid, people will just remember it forever. There is no way you can edit it. But hopefully things will be fine today. Last year, like today, a year ago, I released a book called Laravel Queues in Action. And this is my first book. This is my first contribution in the form of a book, a PDF book. I used to do a lot of tutorials, text tutorials, and I did a lot of blog posts on the Diving Laravel website. But then I became very interested in Laravel queues, and I used it a lot, and I've seen Taylor using it while building Weber and while doing a lot of coding on Forge since I joined Laravel around 5 years ago. And it's fascinating what Laravel queues is capable of and the amount of features that it provides, it offers, and it's completely free, which is mind-blowing to have something this powerful completely free for everyone to use to make the applications more responsive to users, and it has a lot of benefits. So I decided to write a book about it. At first, I decided to go for a series, a blog post series on the Diving Laravel website, but then I said, why not just make a book and collect everything I know about Laravel queues in a book, so people can download the book and just read it through and learn all about Laravel queues and how they can use it in their applications. So that's how the idea came into reality. So I decided to write the book. It took me around 5 or 6 months, I don't remember, and the book came out same day like today last year. And it has been great since then. I received a lot of feedback from readers, from the book readers. It helped them with their production applications, and also they sent me new use cases that I didn't consider. I didn't even think it were possible using Laravel queues, and I included some of them in the recent versions of the book. So all in all, the feedback I got from the book, it gave me the confidence, it gave me the boost I needed to make more tutorials and to explore even making video tutorials, because it gave me the confidence that I have something that people would be interested in. So it's something that you need. This confidence is something that you need when you decide to make YouTube videos, because it's not just text that you type. You have to know what you're talking about, because it appears in your tone, it appears in your facial expressions, it appears in the way you speak and the body language and so on. So this book it changed my life. It gave me the confidence I needed to go further in making tutorials, and I even was able to make tutorials on Laracasts, which is amazing because Laracasts is a great learning resource for everyone around PHP and Laravel and JavaScript. It covers a lot of topics. So, and I learned a lot from Laracasts, and to be able to make videos on Laracasts that Jeffrey finds useful for people, it's great. It's something amazing, and it's just I've never thought I will be here where I am today 5 years ago or 6 years ago when I started contributing to Laravel. So thanks to this book, I was able to gain the confidence needed to make videos for YouTube and videos for Laracasts as well. So without much ado, I would like to start previewing the book with you today. We're going to go through the table of contents, and I'm going to read a couple of chapters for you guys live. And hopefully you will like the content, hopefully you will like the book. And it's on sale today in celebration to having it out for a year. It's on sale, so if you're interested in the book, you can go get it at a discounted price until the end of today. So that's it. Let's get started. Let me first share my screen. And here we go. So this is the book cover. It was designed by a local artist. Her name is Ghada, and she's a friend of mine. She's a friend of the family, actually. For the past 10 years, she's a great calligrapher, an Arabic calligrapher, and she also does a lot of graphic design. She designed this elephant for the book, and if you look closer, you can see the word Q written inside the elephant. So this is the Q, and that's the U, and the E, and then the other U, and then the E at the end. So this is a queue of elephants for the cover of the book, and each elephant represents the word Q. I think it's a pretty smart design, and I thank Ghada for this design. It's the perfect design for the book, actually. So let's move to the table of contents. Let me display 2 pages. I hope the font is not small. Let me know, guys, if the font is not readable. So here's the table of contents. The book consists of 4 parts. The first part is a crash course on queues. I tell you all about the key components of the queue system. I explain why you might need to use queues in your Laravel application. I show you around the different basic configurations of queues and what you can achieve by using queues in a simple application. So that's a crash course on queues. Just to get people who never used queues before and have no idea what queues are all about, to give them an idea of what queues are. And the second part of the book is a cookbook. I personally never read a book. Let me just check something. All right. So I personally never read a book from start to end before, a technical book especially. I don't like reading everything while I am only going to use parts of the book in the actual real world. This is something I struggled with when I was in high school, studying things that I know for sure that I won't be using most of it. And it's also the problem I had when I was studying in a university, because I knew from everyone who graduated before me that most of what I'm going to study is useless. I'm not going to use it in real world. So when I decided to write a book of my own, I wanted to have the book. First, I wanted to make it skippable, so people can skip what they don't need to learn about for now. They can just go and read a chapter that matches something that they are working on right now. And if this chapter is good for them, they will continue reading it. If not, they will just skip it and move to the next chapter, and so on. And then later on, when they are working on something that they read about it before in the book, they can go back to the chapter and read it, and it's isolated from the rest of the book. So that's basically what I wanted, or that's basically the plan with this book. I wanted it to be skippable. I wanted people to be able to skip to only what they want, or only what they need to use in the real life problems. So the second part of the book is a cookbook. It doesn't explain theoretical things. It's all about problems and their solutions from my point of view. Starting with simple problems like sending email verification messages when people sign up for the application, when they register and provide their email address. sending them an email verification message, and why you can send, or why you should send it via a queue instead of sending it in real time while the user is sending a request to your application. So this chapter is just explains how you do it and why you would want to do it. And the problems start getting more complicated, like handling job concurrency, handling or doing job rate limiting, dealing with third-party services that aren't stable, and handling failure and retries when it comes to communicating with third-party services. Also refactoring some of the code that we have written in previous problems to job middleware, which is something that was introduced, I think, in Laravel 7, job middleware. So people who have been writing code in their jobs from previous Laravel versions, I show them how to refactor some of this code into job middleware, which is an awesome feature. And we go into processing uploaded videos, message aggregation, sending deployment notifications, like everything. I try to cover everything around queues in the form of real life problems and their solutions. And actually, when I started working on the book, I asked people on Twitter to give me problems they faced in the application, real life applications. I asked them to send some of these problems to me and how they managed to deal with them, and I included these problems in the book, right from the real life production applications into the book, with solutions that they used or solutions that I thought are better, or using more recent features that were introduced to the framework after the solutions they used in the past, in past Laravel releases. So these are all real life applications, real life problems with their solutions from my point of view. So each chapter or each part that you read is an actual problem that you are going, or you might face in your while building production applications. It's not theoretical. So after the cookbook, there is this part, which is a guide to running and managing queues. This is the theoretical part. It comes after the cookbook. And the things that I couldn't cover in the cookbook, like things that are really specific, and it's hard to put in a real life problem without explaining a lot of things around queues, like things that handle stuff regarding databases and such. It's hard to put it inside a cookbook, in a book about queues, without having to explain everything else around queues that is not related to queues in order to explain the problem. So for these things, I put them in a complete guide to running and managing queues. It has everything regarding first, like choosing the right machine for running queues, how to keep the workers running and handle the worker processes crashing and handle failure, scaling workers and scaling them using Laravel Horizon, managing the state inside your jobs, how to use the command pass in your Laravel applications, managing job attempts, handling queues on deployments, and so on. So this is a guide you read after you read the cookbook, and it will explain everything about queues from start to finish. Everything that I couldn't cover in the cookbook is included in this guide. And lastly, the last part of the book is a reference to all the worker configurations, job configurations, connection configurations, horizon configurations, and explain all the built-in middleware that ships with a fresh Laravel application, and all the job interfaces that ship with every Laravel application, and how you may use them in your application. So this is the table of contents for the book. It's around 247 pages. As I said earlier, it covers everything I know about Laravel queues, so you guys can use it in your applications. Now, what I want to do is that I want to read a few of the chapters from the book. I'm going to read it live to you guys so you get an idea what's included in the book. So let's start it by this part, which is canceling abandoned orders. So When users add items to their shopping cart and start the checkout process, you want to reserve them or reserve these items for them. However, if a user abandoned an order, they never cancelled or checked out, you will want to release the reserved items back into stock so other people can order them. To do this, we are going to schedule a job once a user starts the checkout process. And this job will check the order status after 1 hour and cancel it automatically if it wasn't completed by then. So let's see how such a job can be dispatched from the controller action. Here is the controller action. We have the order created and we set the status to pending. And then we are going to dispatch a job called monitor pending order. And after dispatching the job, we are going to change the delay method or to chain the delay method and give it 3600 seconds. By chaining the delay method, after dispatch, the monitor pending order job will be pushed to the queue with a delay of 3600 seconds, which is 1 hour. Workers will not process this job before the hour passes. You can also set the delay using a datetime interface implementation. Instead of sending a number of seconds, you can give it a datetime interface implementation by using the now helper add hour. So now this job will be delayed. It will not be picked up by the user or by the worker until an hour passes. If you are using the SQS queue driver, you can only delay a job for 15 minutes. If you want to delay jobs for more than 15 minutes, you will need to delay it for 15 minutes first and then keep releasing the job back to the queue using the release method. You should also know that SQS stores the job for only 12 hours after if it was in queue. So this is a limitation with the SQS driver that you will need to be aware of if you are using this driver in your application. So here is a quick look inside the handle method of that job, that monitoring job, the monitor pending order job. Inside the handle method, when the job runs, which happens after an hour, we'll check if the order was cancelled or confirmed and just return from the handle method. If the order is confirmed or cancelled, we are going to return. Using return here will make the worker consider the job as successful and remove it from the queue. Finally, if the job or if the order wasn't confirmed or cancelled, we are going to cancel the order if it's still pending. That's mainly the task that the job should be performing, to cancel the order if it was still pending after an hour. Now it might be a good idea to send the user an SMS notification to remind them about their order before completely cancelling it. So let's send an SMS every 15 minutes until the user completes the checkout or we cancel the order after 1 hour. To do this, we are going to delay dispatching the job for 15 minutes instead of an hour. So here, instead of using now add hour, we are going to use now add minutes. And we're going to delay the job for 15 minutes. When the job runs, we want to check if an hour has passed and cancel the order. Or if we are still within the hour period, then we will send an SMS to remind the user and release the job back to the queue with a 15-minute delay. So here, if the order was confirmed or cancelled, we are going to return to cancel the job. And if the order is older than 59 minutes, that means an hour has passed, so we are going to mark the order as cancelled and delete the job by using return. Otherwise, we are going to send an SMS message to remind the user about the order and then use the release method to release the job back to the queue to be executed again by a worker after 15 minutes. Using release inside a job has the same effect as using delay while dispatching the job. The job will be released back to the queue and workers will run it again after 15 minutes. Now, every time the job is released back to the queue, it will count as an attempt. We need to make sure our job has enough tries to run 4 times. And to do that, we are going to set the tries public property on the job class. We are going to set it to 4. So this job will now run 15 minutes after checkout, 30 minutes after checkout, 45 minutes after checkout, and 60 minutes after checkout. If the user confirmed or cancelled the order, say after 20 minutes, the job will be deleted from the queue when it runs on the attempt at 30 minutes, and no SMS will be sent. This is because we have this check at the beginning of the handle method. We check if the order is confirmed or cancelled first before sending an SMS or cancelling the order. There is something you should know about job delays, that there is no guarantee workers will pick the job up exactly after the delay period passes. If the queue is busy and not enough workers are running, our monitor pending job may not run enough times to send the 3 SMS reminders before cancelling the order. To increase the chance of your delayed job getting processed on time, you need to make sure that you have enough workers to empty the queue as fast as possible. This way, by the time the job becomes available, a worker process will be available to run it immediately. And that concludes one of the chapters in the book. As you can see, it's a real-time problem, it's a real-life problem, and it includes a solution that I think is the best solution from my opinion, from my point of view, on how to handle this problem. In our case, the problem is that you want to cancel an order automatically if the user didn't finish it after an hour, and during the hour you want to send SMS notifications every 15 minutes to remind the user that they have some items in their shopping cart and they should check out this product and finish the order, or just cancel it, because we are going to cancel it for them automatically after an hour. So this is a problem with the type of problems that I discuss in this book, and the solutions, or the way I tackle the solutions for the problems. And I include warnings about things that you may need to consider if you are using some specific configuration. And I also try to explain things like that there is no guarantee that a job will be executed exactly after the delay period that you set for the job, because this is something that people get confused about a lot. They see or they send a job that should be executed after a minute, and then the minute passes and the job didn't start, and then they think there's a bug. Actually, there is no bug, it's just there are not enough workers available to pick the job when it became available. When a job becomes available, if no worker is available to handle the job will wait until the next worker becomes available. So delays are not like, doesn't mean, or sending a job with a delay doesn't mean that it's going to be executed exactly when the time comes. It might get executed later when workers become available. So hopefully you understand now the type of problems that you might see in the book. And as you can see, the problems start with really simple ones, and then we tackle more complex issues like handling complex reports and things that take a lot of time, patching and chaining jobs, and handling or dealing with concurrency issues while writing jobs that where a lot of workers are running at the same time and executing a kind of job that handles or that interacts with different resources, and problems that may happen when a lot of workers try to touch a resource at the same time. So the deeper you go in the book, the more complicated the problems become. Now let's check another part from the book, which is in the guide to running and managing queues. Let's check the handling queues on deployment spot. And I'm going to read through it just like the previous part. Let me take a quick look at the chat. So keep me updated, guys, if there are any issues that you see with the stream. All right. So handling queues on deployments. When you deploy your application with new code or different configurations, workers running on your server need to be informed about the changes. And since workers are long-running or long-living processes, they must be shut down and restarted in order for the changes to be reflected. Restarting workers through the CLI. When writing your deployment script, you need to run the following command after pulling the new changes. PHP artisan queue restart. This command will send a signal to all running workers, instructing them to exit after finishing any job in hand. This is called graceful termination, to only exit after finishing any job in hand. And if you are using Laravel Forge, here is a typical deployment script that you may use. You pull the changes from Get and you run composer install, and then you run the migrations maybe, and finally at the end of the deployment script you call PHP artisan queue restart. Here the new code will be pulled from Get, dependencies will be installed by composer, PHP FPM will be restarted here, and migrations will run, and finally the queue restart signal will be sent. After PHP FPM is restarted, your application visitors will start using the new code while the workers are still running on older code. Eventually, those workers will exit and start again. So those workers will exit and will start again by supervisor. The new worker processes will be running the new code. If you are using Envoyer, then you need to add a deployment hook after the activate new release action and run the queue restart command. If you have the worker processes if you have the worker process managed by your supervisor, you can use the supervisor control command line tool to restart them. And the command here is supervisor control restart group name, which is the name of your worker group. And that book includes a more detailed guide on configuring supervisor. Similar to restarting regular worker processes, you can signal Horizon's master supervisor to terminate all workers' processes by using the following command, PHP artisan Horizon terminate. So if you are using a regular queue, you need to call PHP artisan queue restart, and if you are using Horizon, you need to call PHP artisan Horizon terminate. But in order to ensure your jobs won't be interrupted, you need to make sure of the following. Your Horizon supervisor's timeout value is greater than the number of seconds consumed by the largest or the longest running job. Number 2, your job-specific timeout should be shorter than the timeout value of the Horizon supervisor. And if you are using the supervisor process manager to monitor the Horizon process, make sure the value of stop wait seconds is greater than the number of seconds consumed by the longest running job. With this correctly configured, supervisor will wait for the Horizon process to terminate and won't force terminate it after stop wait seconds or the stop wait seconds configuration passes. Horizon supervisors will also wait for the longest job to finish running and won't force terminate after the timeout value passes. In this chapter also we look into dealing with migrations. When you send a restart signal to the workers, some of them may not restart right away. They will wait for a job in hand to be processed before exiting. If you are deploying new code along with migrations that will change the database schema, workers that are still using the old code may fail in the middle of running their last job due to these changes. Old code working with the new database schema. To prevent this from happening, you will need to signal the workers to exit and then wait for them. Only when all workers exit gracefully, you can start your deployment. To signal the workers to exit, you will need to use supervisor control stop in your deployment script. This command will block the execution of the script until all workers are shut down. So here's a sample deployment script. At the beginning of the script, you're going to call supervisor control stop your worker group, and the script will wait until this command finishes and all workers exit. After that, it's going to pull the new code and then run the migration, and at the end it's going to call supervisor control start the worker group in order for the workers to start again. And you should make sure the system user running the deployment can run the supervisor control command as sudo, because it doesn't work by default. You need to make sure that the current user that's running the deployment is able to run the supervisor control command as sudo. Now your workers will be signaled by supervisor to stop after processing any jobs in hand. After all workers exit, the deployment script will continue as normal, migrations will run, and finally the workers will be started again. However, you should know that supervisor control stop may take time to execute depending on how many workers you have and if any long-running job is being processed. You don't want to stop the workers in this way if you don't have migrations that change the schema. So I recommend that you don't include supervisor control stop in your deployment script by default. Only include it when you know you are deploying a migration that will change the schema and cause workers running on old code to start throwing exceptions. You can also manually run supervisor control stop, wait for the command to execute, start the deployment, and finally run supervisor control start after your code deploys. So that's it, guys. That's part of that's a chapter from the second part of the book, which is a guide to running queues in your application or on your servers that handles a lot of things. And in this chapter, we were talking about deployments, Laravel, and how to handle restarting workers while deploying your application, and the special case when you are deploying or when you are running a deployment that has migrations running, and you need to stop all workers before starting or before migrating or before starting your deployment script. You need to start all the workers, start the deployment script, and finish the migration, and then later start the workers again. So all workers stop at the last schema or the last figure of the schema, and when they start again, all workers will be able to deal with the new schema after the migration happens. I hope that was clear. So now let's go back to the table of contents, and the last part of the book is the reference to all the configurations. Let's take a quick look at all the Horizon configurations here. We talk about the memory limit configuration, the trim configuration, each of these attributes, what they do, and the fast termination configuration, and so on. We go through all the configurations that you can think of regarding queues, and we explain it, and I try to explain them. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen, so let me display. Sorry about that. So here is the part that I was talking about, Horizon configurations. We talk about all the attributes in the Horizon configurations and all the attributes of the configurations that are related to the queue in general. I try to cover everything in the book, and I keep the book updated with everything whenever a new release of Laravel comes out. Now let me take a quick look at the chat to see if you have any questions. If you have any questions, please make sure that you send them in the chat. All right. So there is a question: is Laravel Forge to restart it automatically? If you mean the workers, no, Laravel Forge will not start your workers automatically. You need to include the restart command in your deployment script for Forge to be able to restart it. Similarly to migrations, Forge will not run migrations automatically. You need to tell Forge to run the migrations. You need to instruct it to do exactly what you want to do whenever Forge should or Forge needs to deploy your application, what it should do. You should tell it about all that. Forge will not assume anything on your behalf. So if that's all the questions you have, guys, I think this was a good stream, nothing disastrous. I hope you learned something, guys, and I hope you liked the book. And if you want to take a look at or if you want to get the book, let me open a new window. So it's on learn.laravelqueues.com, and you scroll down. The book is currently at a discounted price, and yeah, the book is currently at a discounted price of $15, and I offer purchase power parity for some countries. So if you are from one of those countries, you will get an even more discounted price. So you can grab your book or your copy for $15 now, celebrating a year of the book being published. And there are also team licenses, so depending on the size of your team, you can grab a copy for this size, and it also has a discounted price for only today. So again, the book is available at learn.laravelqueues.com. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I hope you learned something, and I hope to see you later in a future stream. Before I go, what queue storage driver is you prefer to use typically? I typically prefer Redis because it gives me a lot of flexibility at what to use. I can run a Redis instance on the same machine. I can run it on a different machine, more powerful or has more memory dedicated to Redis. So my preferred queue driver is Redis for high load environments, but for environments that are limited, like there aren't a lot of jobs that are going to run, there are no high concurrency, the database queue driver is actually ready. If you are running MySQL 5.7 and later, you can use the database queue driver, and it will work great. If the load of your jobs is not that heavy, it will work fine. And if you are using Laravel Vapor to run your applications in the serverless environment, the only option is the SQS driver, but it's actually a great driver. The only limitation maybe is that you cannot delay a job for more than 15 minutes. But other than that, it's a really reliable queue driver for when you are running in the serverless environment. How can I download the latest version of the book? You can check kiosk at demsay.com. So it's kiosk at demsay.com, and you can log in. Let me display the screen. You can log in to kiosk.demsay.com, and once you do, you will be able to download the latest version of the book if you have already purchased it. I always keep the latest version available, so whenever you download, you always get the latest version. So that's it, guys. I think that's all I have to share with you today. I hope you learned something. I hope you liked the book. And if you have any questions regarding Laravel queues, I'm always available on Twitter at demsaid. I think you know my handle already. You can reach out to me, and I will do my best to answer all the questions. I will do my best to help all of you guys who have problems with queues. Thank you again for watching this, and I hope to see you in a future